Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on a little bell on the side, so once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Now today's video, it's not really regards to any visa policies or any strategy or any tips, but obviously we have been through 2 years of pandemic and Australia is looking to open up its world, although it's already open, but the relaxation of the law require for international travelers is there. So today the Minister of Health Greg Hunt had actually announced a further relaxation on the rules and laws for international travelers going into Australia, which is a good sign because I noticed there's so many people leaving comments in regards to backlogs of visa applications. For example, 189, 190, 491, 489, you name it, 485. Every visa application are in backlogs. So with the opening and relaxation of the public health regulation and law, that we will foresee the backlog will be somehow resolved very soon, and this is what everybody is expecting. So I believe by the new financial year, which is going to be the 1st July 2022, a lot of these public health regulation and laws will be relaxed and perhaps abolished, just like how some countries in Europe has already been doing it. So let's go in and have a look at this media news. So you may be able to find this as I have received this early this morning. So I think it's very important, although it does not directly relate to visa applications, but indirectly it's gonna solve all the backlog issues. So what we are seeing today in this news is, let's read the title: Pre-departure COVID test for international travel to Australia ditched. Now what that means is basically you are not required to go through any that's the rapid antigen test or PCR test, either gonna be 72 or 24 hours prior boarding the flight anymore. So obviously that makes the international travelers to come into Australia easier, and that obviously will increase the number. So you may notice the travelers on the aeroplane, most of them is not full. Now the reason is obviously there's still a COVID control for international travelers. So I can predict and estimate that what's gonna come out of this afterwards will be obviously ditching the requirement of vaccination and so on and so forth, as we continue to see how the COVID Omicron variant, although there's a BA2 variant of Omicron, but the severities of the virus is not there anymore, as general public had got all their vaccination done. But anyway, I'm still here to advise that travel with caution, travel with the health and safety. You still have that concern in your mind, just don't. Some people do still contract it and get bad as well. Anyway, let's have a read about this news. This just came out 2 hours ago, came out early this morning. So the government of Australia had announced this first thing on the Friday morning of the 25th of March 2022. So let's have a read. This is a fairly short news media because there's not much to talk about here. There's no question and things, but it's a good sign for all the visa applicants, especially a lot of skilled migrants. They have lodged, get invited for the visas and still waiting. And also because of the relaxation of the public health law, we can foresee the increased number and quota for visa intake and invites for every state and territory governments as well. The reason that you see a lot of delay is basically the public health sector, the public health division of the government is looking to control the influx of people coming into Australia, because obviously during the pandemic you don't want too many people coming in and things go out of control. And that is why there has been backlog. A lot of people ask me why. I say, look, it's just the virus. I mean, if the virus is gone, everybody can come in as how we used to be in pre-pandemic era. Obviously, there's no, the backlog will be resolved because the speed of visa process will catch up with the application lodged. So anyway, okay, let's have resolved. Federal government is ditching the requirement of overseas travelers to provide a negative COVID-19 test before they fly to Australia. So the Health Minister Greg Hunt said the government will no longer make it condition of entry of the people had to show the test negative for virus. I noticed that a lot of international travelers are only required to have that provided and prove at the boarding, where that's where your boarding country or cities or airport at. But once you arrive, the actual airplane arrive into Australia, the border force and control, they don't check at all anyway. I've asked so many of my clients and friends arriving into Australia lately. I said to them, well, did they check you at the custom border when you arrive and pick up your luggage? They said no. You basically scan your passport and here we go, we go in. Anyway, looks like they are ditching, so it's gonna be no more checking on the testing either 72 or 24 hours prior to the boarding of the flight. So given the vaccination requirement remains and the masking requirement, so you still need to you put on your mask during the flight, the medical advice is that the test will no longer be required. Particularly, there are some challenges in some jurisdictions having access to those tests, proving those tests. What does that mean? That means, well, look, if you want to get a test, for example, rapid antigen test, the RAT. Now, if you purchase, say, any other countries or any other cities other than Australia, then how do you prove that is actually done on yourself? You see what I mean? I mean, reading on the result cannot prove that is actually done on yourself or the traveler themselves, correct? So I think ditching this is the correct way to go anyway. Mr. Hunt said that spoke with Chief Executive Officer of both Qantas and Virgin Airline, but they also took medical advice from the Chief Medical Officer, and he said there was a view that we progressively take away those items which are no longer required. So obviously, it's in a progress, and it also meant in the very soon future, very short future, the requirement of perhaps the vaccination certificate will be abolished as well, because you no longer need to check why would you, first of all, if you're not required. Now let's go back a little bit. A lot of people get vaccinated, but they still contract the virus. Well, Omicron, you know it, because Australia got 95% of the population got vaccinated, double shots, right? And they still contract Omicron anyway, because Omicron will just get on you, but the severity and the death rate is just very low. So if that's the case, then why you need to check on the vaccination certificate anymore? Right, correct? Because if you're not required to do a RAT or PCR test prior boarding your flight, why bother checking on the vaccination certificates? Right, because you still get contracted anyway. So anyway, so I can see that in the very near future, this will all be ditched and abolished. So Mr. Hunt will not extend order under Biosecurity Act. So that's the act that protects the public health of Australia, and that is the actual law putting on the delay of all the visa applications, because they need to control the number of influx of international travel coming to Australia. So if that's all gonna be abolished and changed, then obviously we can see the movement of visa processing quicker and quicker from today and now onwards. Pre-departure tests were introduced at the beginning of last year in effort to stop so many COVID cases of possibly arriving in Australia. That's exactly what I said. The government originally required someone to provide negative PCR test or within 3 days or a RAT 24 hours prior. Other countries, including many in Europe, have also begun ditching the pre-flight tests. So that's it. That's for the news. I think it's a very good news for everybody, and obviously for the migrant and for the traveler wishing to actually go into Australia. So looks like in the very near future the certificate of the vaccination would not require anymore, because if you're not required to go through PCR or RAT test prior boarding, why bother to get checking on the certificate of vaccination? Because even if you got vaccinated, you can still contract Omicron. So if that's the case, ditching the vaccination certificate I can foresee it's in the foreseeable future that will be the action to be taken under the Biosecurity Act next, which means the backlog will somehow be resolved very soon. Anyway, should you have more question, query, more than welcome to leave a comment right down below, and I see you next video. Goodbye.